Namaste, Radhe Radhe, and a very warm welcome to all of you to this week's session on International Gita Festival. As you all know, the purpose of this divine event, International Gita Festival, is to make the wonderful wisdom of Sri Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita accessible to everyone in the world. And with that noble objective, we are conducting nearly 30 plus unique contests through International Gita Festival. So do visit our website gitafestival.org and you will be able to look at the different contests and you will be able to participate in it. And of course, we also have free online sessions on Bhagavad Gita and you can join any of them and our volunteers will help you prepare for this wonderful contest. And this year, as you all know, Swami Mukundananda ji's commentary on the Bhagavad Gita has been released on Amazon. So if you're interested, you're welcome to participate in the Har Ghar Gita initiative, through which we will be donating or distributing this Holy Bhagavad Gita to many, many people across the globe. So you are welcome to go to, again, gitafestival.org and order your copy, or you can also donate to distribute these wonderful books. And we are very grateful to Madhu Reddy ji, who is matching every Bhagavad Gita book that is being donated through International Gita Festival and the Har Ghar Gita initiative. So let's move on to today's topic. Today's session is very different from what we have had in the past. So if you look at the previous sessions, Swamiji was kind enough and he had a lot of interactions with celebrities like Alok Kejriwal ji, Amish Tripathi ji, Bhavna Roy ji, Shweta Rohira. So he had such interactions through which he was able to give us insights about the practical implementation of the knowledge from the Bhagavad Gita. Now, today we are going to have yet another session with Swamiji, but it is going to be quite different. As many of you know, JKYog and Swami Mukundananda ji, we have a very close community called Swami Mukundananda Exclusive Community. So today morning, we had a live session with Swamiji, and Swamiji does this, multiple times throughout the year. So for all the SM exclusive members, you get to have live connects with Swamiji and get your questions answered. And he also gives us knowledge on different topics, right from mindfulness to healthy diet to topics like surrender to topics like tolerance, leadership, so all those aspects. And if you would like to connect with Swamiji on a regular basis and gain access to this precious wisdom and also interact with him and get your questions clarified on a regular basis, then you can visit smexclusive.org and you can become an Swami Mukundananda exclusive member. So coming back to today's session, so as I said, today morning for all the SM exclusive members, Swamiji had an interaction and he clarified the questions that all the SMX members had related to the Bhagavad Gita. And it was such an informative session that the members had very, very beautiful practical questions, and Swamiji's answers, as always, was very deep and profound. So what we're going to do is, in today's segment of International Gita Festival, we are going to replay that interaction that we had today morning with Swamiji, so that every one of you can benefit. And this is a very, very rare and unique opportunity. Till now, none of the SMX recordings has been shared with anyone other than the SMX members. But today is extra special with the grace of Swamiji. Thanks to his grace that we are now making it available on the International Gita Festival portal. So go ahead and watch the entire event, and we hope you enjoy it. Thank you, and Radhe Radhe.
This session was specially designed to address people's questions on the Bhagavad Gita. So I am looking forward to the questions and will try my best to clarify any doubts. that are presented.
Thank you, Swamiji. Wonderful. Yes, we are so looking forward. A lot of questions that have come in. So let's go one by one. The first question comes from Kanushri Rudraji. Kanushri ji, please go ahead. Kanushri ji, you should unmute yourself.
Yes. Radhe Radhe Swamiji. Pranam. Pranam
Radhe,
Swamiji.
Kanushri.
Swamiji, I must offer gratitude to you for this beautiful commentary on Srimad Bhagavad Gita that you have given us, which is filled with extraordinary logical explanations and scientific explanations, for all the verses in the Gita. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I have a question for you, Swamiji.
Yes.
Bhagavad Gita 16.23 exclusively mentions about discarding the scriptural injunctions and its consequences. Now, how to understand this text in regards to the modern day people who are too much into technology and improving the externals without giving any respect to the scriptures whatsoever? So could you please?
Yes. Kanushri, first of all, thank you for sharing your inspiration. Now, coming to your question, why should the scriptures be respected and adhered to? Because they are coming from a divine source. So, if we want to make our life auspicious, we tie our intellect with that higher wisdom. We do it in every field of life. If you want to have good health, either you use your intellect or consult the expert. If you want your accounting to go well, either you do as you feel or you go to somebody who studied and mastered accounts and finance. Likewise, life is meant to be led with the wisdom of the scriptures. So, why is it that people do not follow scriptural injunctions? The first could be lack of faith. Shankaracharya said, Shraddhasva, Tata Shraddhasva, have faith. That element of faith is so powerful and beneficial when placed in the right place. And the second reason why people disobey the injunctions is because they have too many material desires. So they prefer convenience rather than benefit. They prefer indulgence rather than austerity. They prefer immediate pleasure and do not prioritize growth. So for them, Lord Krishna is saying, Yah Shastra Vidhi Mutsrijya Vartate Kamakaratah Nasa Siddhim Avapnoti Na Sukham Na Parangatim. That look, those who reject scriptural injunctions because of worldly desires, they neither achieve perfection nor happiness. So now connecting it with modern technology, technology is a two-edged sword. It can be used beneficially and it can be used to our detriment. After all, this community is a consequence of technology. But you have made a valid point that people are misusing technology to fill the world into their head, to get themselves even more distracted, even more of the broken focus syndrome. So, one of the consequences is that they wish to look good instead of becoming good. On my Facebook profile, I should look good. And the panic is there. I made a post. How many likes did I get? How many times was it shared? Oh my God, the other person's post is better than mine. So this is the facade. When we focus on the external show rather than the internal reality, we become hypocrites. Hypocrites are those who are engaging in pretense. And hypocrisy is neither beneficial nor fulfilling. If we wish to experience the inner satisfaction, then we must keep a razor sharp focus of growing from within. And that is where we take the help of the scriptures.
Wonderful, Swamiji. Thank you so much for that. Second question comes from Arpita Banerjee ji.
Radhe Radhe Swamiji, Koti Koti Pranam.
Radhe
Thank you,
Radhe Arpita.
Thank you, Swamiji, for giving an excellent commentary on Bhagavad Gita, which is very simple and easy to understand for the masses. Swamiji, my question is, on a scale of 100, what is the role of prarabdha karma? What is the role of free will? And what is the role of God's will in our life? Our society is based on the assumption of free will, but modern neuroscience says there is no free will. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says thrice in chapter 3, verse 27, in chapter 13, verse 29, in chapter 14, verse 19, that all decisions are taken by nature. The conscious individual jiva is fooled into thinking that I am the doer. Thank you, Swamiji.
Well, Arpita, first of all, thank you for your kind words. Modern neuroscience is still trying to figure out how the brain and the mind connect. What is the mind? What is the nature of thoughts? So, scientists keep coming up with new theories. Now, in the name of science, they make assumptions and present them as theories. So, about a couple of years ago, one scientist came up with his hypothesis that there is no free will. And he presented how the thoughts are consequences of chemical reactions. Unfortunately, that theory is full of holes. I would like to suggest to you to go and read it up and take a look at the number of assumptions that have been made along the line. Now, when it comes from our Bhagavad Gita perspective, there is a difference between the brain and the mind. So, the nature of thoughts is not just chemical reactions in the neurons. Thoughts are subtler forms of energy. And that is why, while thinking, we do use the brain. We do often get limited by the brain, but we can, in fact, even control the brain by our thoughts. So, the theory of neuroplasticity is revealing that by thinking certain kinds of thoughts, you can change the structure of your neurons. Now, this is the reverse way around. Okay, so it is an indication of the fact that we do possess free will. When Lord Krishna says that the souls are thinking that they are the doers, but actually they are not, it's a very deep philosophical point that he is making, that there is a big scope there to misunderstand. We are the non doers in the sense that the soul is factually not doing. The actions are performed by the body, the mind, and the intellect. So if the soul develops pride, I did this, then the scriptures say, remember, it's not your energy. The powerhouse is somewhere else. But at the same time, once that powerhouse supplies us with the energy, The soul has the free will how to utilize it. So the soul can choose, I will think these thoughts, I will think those thoughts. And in that sense, it becomes responsible for its actions. Now, your question was about the prarabdha, the kriyaman, and the will of God. The will of God intervenes once in a while. In general, it is according to his rules, the law of karma, as you do, that you shall reap. There's the law of karma, that is the will of God. Once in a while, he intervenes beyond it. And then he may snatch away the worldly luxuries as a special form of grace, or he may enhance our efforts in something as a special blessing. But that cannot be the standard norm. Now, the second is the prarabdha with which we were born. Now, in a scale of 1 to 100, how much is the prarabdha? Well, look at the time of birth, it is 100%. There is no purusharth there. We did not choose the family we would be born in, the kind of complexion we would have, the IQ with which we were sent to this world. But then, as we start growing up, we start realizing our freedom to choose. And that choice starts growing more and more and more. So the Chanakya Sutra says, Nirutsaha Daivam Patita. You may have had a wonderful prarabdha, born with it. But if you did not put in proper effort with your free will, you will lose it all. So in these three, the only one in our hands is our self-effort called Purusharth. That is the one to focus upon. And if we put in sufficient effort, the scriptures are telling us that God Himself will become your servant. Aham bhakta paradhina. So by Purusharth, if we can make the Supreme Almighty as our servant, then what is it that we cannot achieve? So while putting in your efforts, don't bring prarabdha or will of God into your mind. When the results come, remain contented. Maybe God's will, maybe my destiny. That way you will not feel disturbed.
Wow, what a reassuring answer, Swamiji. Thank you for that. We will move on to Nikhil ji. Radhe Radhe, Nikhil ji.
Radhe Radhe, ma'am. Radhe Radhe, Swamiji.
Radhe Radhe, Nikhil.
Swamiji, I am Nikhil from Bangalore. Swamiji, first I express my thanks for writing this enlightening commentary, Swamiji. The unique feature of this commentary is it is very simple, logical, and requires no prior scriptural knowledge. Any spiritual aspirant with a sincere and dedicated heart, if he approaches this book, he becomes the master of both Bhagavad Gita knowledge and Vedic literature knowledge, Swamiji. Swamiji, my question is, from past 3 years, I am reading your old edition of Bhagavad Gita, and I'm also listening and reading all your social media posts, Swamiji. All your social media posts. Swamiji, from my 3 years of reading, I have listed some 6 verses of Bhagavad Gita. Every day, morning and night, I contemplate on these verses, Swamiji, and I want to build my future life around these verses, Swamiji. So, Swamiji, just list those 6 verse numbers, Swamiji. Please give the confirmation and approval, Swamiji, so that I can move ahead with clarity and confidence, Swamiji.
Go ahead.
Swamiji, verse 1, Bhagavad Gita 2.47, which talks about 4 points of NATO. Verse 2,
Karmanyevadhikaraste. Yes.
Verse 2, Bhagavad Gita 12.8, it talks about fix your mind and intellect on me, which is the only verse which is repeated twice in the Bhagavad Gita.
Surrender your mind, surrender your intellect. Yes.
Means we should always stay in God consciousness, that God is watching us and noting down our karmas. Then verse 3, Bhagavad Gita 6.35, Vairagya and Abhyas. It is talking about practice of Rup Dhyan meditation.
Abhyasena tu kanteya vairagyena jigar. Abhyas and vairagya. Yes.
Verse 4, 18.66, Mamekam Sharanam, means it is the final state of our consciousness where we surrender to the will of God. Then verse 5, 18.68, the best service to God is to spread this loving devotional knowledge among his devotees. Verse 6 and last one is Bhagavatam 9.4.63, Aham Bhakta Paradino. If we show selfless love to God, God gets enslaved by his devotee. Thanks, Swamiji. Kindly give confirmation and approval, Swamiji. That's it, Swamiji.
Yes. So, see, your question is that you have focused on a few verses which you have made as the basis of your practice. And you are asking that if I just utilize these verses for practice, will it suffice? So, factually, if you take one verse and truly implement it, it can completely change our lives. We all know that. Now, if you have picked up some of the very important verses, however, I agree with you, but not entirely. In the sense that definitely, rather than trying to implement 100 things, you try and implement these 5 things that you have, 5 verses that you have highlighted. But in their implementation, the other knowledge may have to be referred to from time to time. Like, for example, you say, now surrender the mind to Krishna, and the mind is getting distracted. So you need to know, why is my mind getting distracted? Lord Krishna is talking about the 3 gunas. He's talking about the various mental afflictions. That knowledge will help you understand and facilitate your implementation of these verses. So there is no harm in studying the whole Gita and keeping that knowledge with you. But of course, if you try and practice 100 things, we end up practicing nothing. So for the sake of effectivity, it is good to focus. Now, you brought in one verse from the Bhagavatam as well, which is a good policy. So there is no harm. Of course, these verses have not included surrender to the Guru, right? 4.36. Tadviddhi pranipatena pariprashne. So many aspects of knowledge get left out. That is why we should keep on reading the scriptures, hearing this knowledge, but definitely in the implementation phase, you say, okay, this is what I am zeroing in upon and making practical. I hope that helps you.
Thank you, Swamiji. We will now move on to Simiji.
Radhe Radhe Swamiji, Pranam.
Radhe Radhe.
Before I ask my question, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to you for your tireless, wonderful guidance. And now for this beautiful gift, the most wonderful blessing from a guru to his students. And Swamiji, whenever this monkey mind starts throwing tantrums or gets caught into doldrums, I pick up your Bhagavad Gita commentary and just randomly go to a page and read a little bit. It works every time. The mind and the intellect get centered right away. I keep it on my work desk at arm's length and in the sight always. Now, Swamiji, my question today is about the difference between Jnana Yoga and Buddhi Yoga. So I'm wondering, is Buddhi Yoga a precondition for Karma Yoga, or is it that Buddhi Yoga is an outcome of Karma Yoga? Thank you, Swamiji. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe Simi, I like your strategy. It's a good one to have. So why fear when Bhagavad Gita is here? Always go to it, and its wisdom will blow away the difficulties. So just to clarify your question, you wish to know the difference between Karma Yoga and Buddhi Yoga?
Yes, please.
Oh, okay. Yes. So Karma Yoga means being in yoga while doing your karma. So when you are engaged in your worldly duties and the practice of your profession, and you can keep your mind linked in harmony with your Lord, that would be Karma Yoga. Now, to practice that Karma Yoga, you need Buddhi Yoga. So whether you are practicing Karma Yoga or Jnana Yoga or Bhakti Yoga, all of them require Buddhi Yoga. Why? What is Buddhi Yoga? First of all, bring the right knowledge to your intellect, and then align your mind with the knowledge of the intellect. So illumine the intellect and train the mind to conform to it. If you want to do Karma Yoga, you have to control the intellect, bring the right knowledge. I am doing this as an offering to the Hari Guru, and then create that sentiment, that remembrance in the mind. So Buddhi Yoga is applicable to practically all forms of sadhana, except of course the mechanical sadhanas like Ashtanga Yoga, etc. There in the higher stages, Buddhi Yoga would be relevant. So to say what is the difference between it, Buddhi Yoga is a way of practicing Karma Yoga.
Thank you, Swamiji. Next question comes from Ashutosh Pandeji.
Radhe Radhe Swamiji. Koti pranam to your lotus feet. I'm very thankful to receive this copy, Swamiji. In word, I can say this is qualitative excellence. This is divine knowledge. And my question for today, Swamiji, means to grow in spiritual path, we need to complete surrender. But since modes of nature, we are in control of modes of nature, how can we completely surrender?
Okay, so first of all, Ashutosh, I like the word you use, qualitative excellence. That's a word that is used in material success and very aptly applied to the path of devotion, where qualitative excellence is a manifestation of devotion. So it's Lord Krishna himself who has displayed the highest form of it in his Bhagavad Gita, and I've only elucidated that knowledge of his. Yes, coming to your question, when the modes of nature are controlling us, how do we surrender to Sri Krishna? So Ashutosh, remember, nobody is controlling us. This philosophy comes in through many ways. Some people say destiny is controlling me. Everything is a consequence of the stars. Some people say the will of God is controlling me. Now you have hypothesized that the three modes of nature are controlling us. Supposing that was the case, that we were controlled by the three modes of nature, that means we have no freedom. And if we have no freedom, there is no point in reading the Gita because it will not make a difference at all. The basis of this whole creation and spiritual teachings is the free will that each and every one of us have got. The ability to choose from moment to moment. So it is true, the three modes may impact us deeply. Supposing the mode of ignorance is dominant, it is inducing us, become angry. There's so much of reason for rage. But what does sadhana mean? To resist the urges of the senses, the urges of the mind, the tugging of the intellect, to refuse to succumb to the lower nature. That is sadhana. A sadhak is one where the mind is presenting reasons to be upset. But the sadhak is saying, no, I will not be upset. The mind is suggesting all kinds of reasons for envy and hatred. And the sadhak says, so be it. I choose not to harbor these negative emotions. That freedom we have, we must always ensure that we realize it, and the more we exert it, the stronger it will grow. It is on the basis of that free will that we can surrender to Sri Krishna.
Thank you, Swamiji, for that beautiful response. Now we'll move on to Vidya ji. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe Swamiji. My humble
Radhe
pranams
Radhe
at your lotus feet,
Vidya.
Swamiji.
Radhe Radhe to you.
Swamiji, first of all, thank you so much for writing this beautiful commentary. Also for your kind guidance and clarifying our doubts in understanding the Bhagavad Gita. Swamiji, I have a question in chapter 2, verse 26. Swamiji, you mentioned that the knowledge that we are souls and not the body is the most fundamental of all. And this fact is very well established in the previous verses where Sri Krishna explained about soul and its immortal characteristics. However, in verse 26, Sri Krishna says, even if Arjun doesn't believe the soul is eternal, he still should not lament. Now, why Sri Krishna kept this alternate clause that even if we don't want to believe? I'm also asking this because I've read in an article stating Bhagavad Gita gives an option not to believe in rebirth. And this confuses me if it does, Gita does give this option or does it firmly establish we are the souls? Kindly clarify, Swamiji. Thank you so much.
Okay, Vidya. Okay, thank you for sharing your devotional sentiments. Now, coming to your question, you are right. Lord Sri Krishna says in the second chapter that even if you do not believe the soul, that you are not the soul but the body, then also. So he gives that not with the idea that, okay, this is another thing that you should believe in, but he is addressing the various beliefs that people have. Remember, Gita is spoken to Arjun, but not only for Arjun. When Sri Krishna spoke that over 5,000 years ago, he knew that 5,000 plus years later, hundreds of thousands of people will be discussing that knowledge, including few of us here in the SMX session, right? So he knew for whom he is giving this knowledge. Now, according to the Vedas, we are the soul and the soul is different from the body. But there are so many other philosophies in our Indian heritage that don't accept this theory. Charvak's theory, for example, says that you are the body and it's made of 4 elements, Prithvi, Jal, Tej, Vayu, not even Akash. So when the body is destroyed, you are destroyed. Now, the Buddhist darshan, it talks about repeated animation. So there's a link which continues, but there is no concrete idea of the soul. And in the Jain darshan, the soul is mentioned and emphasized, but its nature is a little confusing. It's supposed to be the size of the body. So it seems that many such philosophies were prevalent even at that time. That is why Sri Krishna says that Arjun, if you subscribe to this philosophy. Now, somebody who's saying that Gita is giving you a second option is using convoluted logic. Supposing I say, okay, Vidya, this is the philosophy for those who can meditate on the form of God. And those who are unable to meditate on the form, I'm giving something else. Does it mean that I'm recommending that? No, it just means that this is also an option available. So if somebody is already of that viewpoint, Sri Krishna is saying that even then you should not lament. That is the point he's trying to make.
Thank you so much, Swamiji, for clarifying. So now we move on to Amit Kaddamji.
Radhe Radhe Swamiji, my humble pranam at your lotus feet. Very, very grateful for giving this opportunity and heartfelt gratitude for the book Bhagavad Gita, Song of God. And it is a boon for all us devotees. And for me personally, I daily read 2 pages of it, contemplate on it, and try. It is like a guideline for me for every day for doing my daily activities. My question, Swamiji, is related to Bhagavad Gita or Mahabharata, the reason for starting the war, and very much relevant to our day-to-day activities. The question is that how do we deal with injustice happening in life? Because we face or see instances where injustice is happening. So how to take the right action and at the same time be detached and not to become bitter, annoyed, or angry. Radhe Radhe. Thank you so much.
Radhe Radhe, Amit. So glad to know your commitment of reading 2 pages every day. It's a wonderful way of refreshing the knowledge in the intellect. It's a very, very beautiful habit to cultivate. Now, coming to your question, that how to handle injustice. An effective person, an emotionally mature person, is one who is able to put aside wasteful, harmful emotions and focus on the higher purpose. There is no benefit in getting hurt, in becoming bitter. If there was, then let's all become bitter. But factually, it's going to hurt us. So, effective living means that I will not focus on the problem, whether it's injustice or it is anything else. I will be solution oriented. Now, what is the solution? If you can put an end to that injustice, well and good. That is what Krishna is doing in the Bhagavad Gita. He's putting an end to the people who are meting out injustice. But invariably, that is not possible. Now, supposing you have a relative who is cheating, and you say, I will put an end to my relative, you don't have that option. Or if you say, I will teach and explain to him, that relative will become even more furious and bitter, inimical towards you. So then the other solution is that let me keep myself normal. That is one of the most important arts to learn. Somebody is doing injustice, I will protect myself. If it's in my hands, I will help the person realize the wrongness of his or her ways. But if that's not possible, I will see how I can stay normal. And here are a couple of tools for that. First of all, be lenient with the other person. Maybe he or she is having a bad day. Maybe he or she has got a perspective that I have not understood. Right? So often we misjudge and then we say, this person is bad. It is said that to judge others is one of the worst things we can do. We pronounce judgments on others. This person is bad. This person is a cheater. Should judge not, lest we be judged. And then the other is keep in mind that people are selfish. Before God realization, everybody is selfish because everybody is striving for their own happiness. And sometimes for their own happiness, they do cheat others because everyone has got different values. Don't be surprised at it. This is the nature of this world. If you went to the hospital and found sick people, would you be surprised? Ah, my God, why is this person in bandage? You know, when you go to the hospital, you will find sick people. Hence, in this world of Maya, you will find people who are doing injustice. They are doing, let them be, leave them in the hands of God. You see to your own duty and your own goals. Utilize some of these tools to ensure that bitterness, resentment, negativity doesn't come in the mind, even in the dreams. Then we will succeed in our sadhana.
Thank you, Swamiji, for those practical tools. Next questions. Next question is coming from Mohana ji. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Swamiji.
Radhe Radhe, Mohana.
My pranams at your lotus feet, Swamiji. And with your grace, we've been able to stay safe during the pandemic. Thank you.
Good, good. I believe you're speaking from London?
Yes, Swamiji.
Okay.
Swamiji, my question is, Lord Krishna emphasizes the importance of austerities. What austerities would you recommend we follow to progress in our spiritual journey, especially given that we are ignorant of our own shortcomings?
Austerities. The word that Sri Krishna uses for austerities is tapasya. Tapasya is voluntary acceptance of discomfort for the accomplishment of a higher purpose. So austerity is extremely purifying. The discomfort that we endure to fulfill a higher goal is extremely releasing. And that is why we must gladly embrace austerities. Now, Sri Krishna, he talks about three kinds of austerities: of the body, of our speech, and of the mind. Austerities of the body: don't indulge in the tugging of the senses. These senses are like 5 horses. If you give them an inch, they will demand a mile. And they are the ones that trap us in gluttony, in indulgence, in addictions. So the austerity of the body is to hold them in check. The austerity of the tongue is to control our speech and to speak only words that are beneficial, to speak the truth, to speak something that is auspicious. And then the austerity of the mind is to prevent the mind from negative thoughts, from impure thoughts, to ensure that the mind is filled with sublime and noble ideas. Sri Krishna also, in the 17th chapter, talks about three kinds of austerities or three categories. He says there are austerities in the mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance. Austerities in the mode of goodness are those that are performed without hankering for a reward, as a sense of duty, with a pure intention. Austerities in the mode of passion are performed with the desire of material rewards. Let me do this yagya and get this reward. Let me give this in charity to get my name engraved here and here and here. That is in Rajagun. And austerity in the mode of ignorance is where we are unnecessarily hurting the body, hurting others like in animal sacrifices, and only plunging our soul in greater darkness. So let us perform austerities in the mode of goodness. Now, the final point here is it's not just about checking the senses, the mind, the speech. In bhakti, we dovetail them all to God. So the true austerity of the body is to engage all the five knowledge senses and working senses in devotion. With my eyes, I will see the form of God. With my hands, I will worship his Sri Vigraha in the temple like that. Likewise, the austerity of the tongue is to always chant his glories and his name. And the austerity of the mind, which is the foremost important, is to always stay in the remembrance of God and Guru.
Thank you, Swamiji. Next question comes from Sunaina Chakraborty ji.
Radhe Radhe Swamiji.
Radhe Radhe Sunaina.
I offer my obeisance pranam at your lotus feet. So I have been reading your commentary on the Bhagavad Gita, and it's so nicely written. Like, it does not only have the translatory meaning of the verses, you have interconnected so many things by giving references from other scriptures too, like, which gives a lot of perspective to the whole scenario. I wish I knew words enough to express my gratitude. So I have a query.
Go ahead.
I have a query from the explanation of verse 28 of chapter 2. Swamiji, my query is, if the causal body is material, then how does it remain during pralay when all material energy is unmanifest, while the subtle body being material is destroyed?
Okay, so first of all, Sunaina, it is Sri Krishna's utmost compassion on you that you developed this deep liking for the knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita. This does not come easily. When Sri Krishna bestows his grace and we have good sanskars of the past, that is when we start relishing divine wisdom. Otherwise, there are so many topics in this world that people waste and get entangled in. Now, you have asked about the causal body. Just to clarify the background, the soul is enmeshed in three material bodies. The gross body that we all see and feel, the subtle body. Subtle body includes the mind, the intellect, the ego, to place it simply. And then the causal body. The causal body includes our sanskars of endless lifetimes. Now, at the time of death, this gross body is left behind. The soul departs. It is accompanied with the subtle body and the causal body. Yada chapyutkramichyati. The Bhagavad Gita is saying that when the soul departs, then it carries with it the other two bodies. That is why the continuity is maintained. Now, your question is, at the time of Mahapralay, when dissolution has taken place, and those souls that were not liberated as yet, so they will have to wait now in the Mahodar, in the stomach of God, until the next cycle of creation. So, I have stated out there that the causal body remains even in Mahapralay. And your question is, how can it remain? Well, in Mahapralay or dissolution, it is not that Maya is destroyed. Maya has only wound back into its original state. So the Pancha Tattva, they merge into Pancha Tanmatras, which merges into Ahankar, which merges into Mahan, and that merges into Prakriti, the subtlest form of Maya. And then at the time of creation, the unwinding takes place from Prakriti to Mahan to Ahankar to Tanmatra to Panch Mahabhut. So when the causal body is maintaining a continuity, it indicates that the causal body is not made from any of the subsequent elements. It is made from the most primordial aspect of Maya, and hence it is existing even when all the other elements of creation have ceased to exist. That is what ensures its continuity.
Thank you, Swamiji, for the detailed answer. So we will now move on to Ganesh ji.
Radhe Radhe Swamiji.
Radhe Radhe Ganesh.
Thank you so much for everything, Swamiji. I've received a lot of knowledge from you, which is making difference in every day in my life. And thank you for this commentary also, Swamiji. This is special. All the commentaries that I read before this left me at theory level, but this is literally helping me to go to practical level. I have a question, Swamiji. I'll read out. Sri Krishna revealed the knowledge to Arjuna step by step from one concept to the next one. Is there any significance of sequence in which he revealed the knowledge to him? Do we sadhaks also progress on spiritual path, understanding the knowledge and being able to implement the knowledge in the same sequence? For example, will karma yoga happen only if we have good understanding and realization of Sankhya yoga?
Yes, okay, Ganesh. Glad that you have grasped the practical part of the Bhagavad Gita. And that truly is so important. That is the reason why the Bhagavad Gita is referred to as Brahma Vidya plus Yoga Shastra. Brahma Vidya because it's giving divine transcendental philosophy, and Yoga Shastra because it's presenting the methodology for realizing that knowledge. So now your question is about the sequence of the Gyan in the Gita. Yes, Sri Krishna, being the supreme teacher, has really weaved the topic of the Gita in a most fascinating manner. Now remember, the way he has weaved it is the way he wants to illumine Arjun step by step. Sometimes you need to motivate people to move ahead. And that is why in chapter 2 itself, the symptoms of an enlightened soul are being talked about. Now, it is not the sequence in which we will realize the knowledge, because those symptoms would otherwise have come to the end. But they figure in chapter 2. One reason that we can probably guess out here is that he's providing motivation. You know, when the teacher inspires the student, the teacher says, look, this knowledge is going to result in this transformation. And then the student says, wow, I will listen with 300% more alertness. So like the master teacher, Sri Krishna has weaved the topic. We can just about get little inklings of it. All that we can appreciate is that after 550 millennia, that knowledge is still ever fresh. So when it comes to implementing that knowledge, this is not the sequence. In fact, the Gita, 18 chapters, are divided into 3 sections. Like the Vedas have Karma Kand, Gyan Kand, Bhakti Kand. So the first 6 chapters of the Gita are in reference to karma. The next 6 chapters are in reference to bhakti, and the last 6 are in reference to Gyan. Now, Gyan doesn't mean Gyan Yog. Sri Krishna is definitely not an Advaiti. He says again and again, Arjun, the souls are my little parts. But to practice Karma Yoga, to practice Bhakti Yoga, the knowledge you will need, he is giving it in those last 6 chapters. Okay, so when it comes to practice, you do need to access the whole knowledge that is there. You don't know which problem will require which knowledge for its resolution. I hope that helps.
Absolutely, Swamiji. Thank you for that. Swamiji, quick time check. It's already 10 p.m. for you right now.
That's all right, Swapna. We can continue for under 15, 20 minutes.
Thank you so much, Swamiji. So next question comes from Madhumanti ji. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Swamiji. Please accept my pranam. My sincerest pranam, Swamiji. I am
Radhe Radhe, Madhumanti.
I'm very, very grateful, Swamiji, for this very precious commentary on the Bhagavad Gita that you have gifted to us. And you have explained very, very lofty philosophies in such simple and lucid language that even a beginner like me can understand and appreciate its value. And I have developed a kind of attachment to the Gita so much that I make it a point to read 10 pages at least every day, and sometimes even more. I just wish to stretch it more. So thank you for all of it, Swamiji. All by your grace, all this is happening. So I have a question, Swamiji. It's from chapter 4, verses 17 and 18, where you have mentioned about, you have explained the concepts of karma or recommended action and akarma or inaction. So my question is there more to inaction than just detachment to the fruits of our action? And how can we implement inaction in action in our daily lives?
Okay, Madhumanti. See, attachment is a bad thing, but attachment in the spiritual realm becomes an asset. And hence, attachment to the Bhagavad Gita is so beneficial. That is the right kind of attachment. So glad to hear about your personal habit of relishing a few pages of the Gita every day. Now you've talked about chapter 4, where Sri Krishna, he is talking about karmanya karmaya pashyeda karmani cha karmaya sa buddhiman manusheshu sa yukta kritsna karma krit. Arjun, who can see, one who can see action in inaction, and inaction in action is the one who really sees. This is a very, very highly philosophic verse. When he says action in inaction, that somebody is sitting, he has apparently given up karmas. It seems like this guy is doing nothing. But factually, the mind is full of desires. So from the spiritual realm, there's still action going on, mental action. On the other hand, there's another person like Dhruv Prahlad, who is a king, who is ruling and engaging in Samdam Dandbhed, and yet internally is unmoved and is in a state of inaction. That inaction, which Sri Krishna calls akarm, is not just detachment from fruits. That is one level of understanding it. But factually, it is a synonym for karma yoga. So when we say akarm, it is the same thing as karma yoga. A karma yogi is in a state of inaction because the karma yogi has got no personal intention in that. The karma yogi is not attached to the fruits. The karma yogi is doing the work as a form of duty and is offering those results to God. So one is nishkam karma, where you're detached from the results. That nishkam karma is practically impossible to practice without devotion. And a higher form of that is karma yoga, where you are offering the fruits to God. So when our mind is in God and we are doing our works, that is the akarm, that is the state of karma yoga as well. And I have given the sadhana for practicing this. So I'm sure you would have heard that, to try and feel the presence of God and Guru with us. So when we feel that Sri Krishna is with us, our mind is there and we are doing our duties as well.
Thank you, Swamiji, for clarifying it for all of us. We will now move on to Rajvi Kaushik ji.
Radhe Radhe Swamiji, Pranam. I came across your YouTube channel a couple months ago, and that has greatly inspired me to start on my spiritual journey. Then I have ordered the Bhagavad Gita commentary and recently started going through it. And I thank you so much for your beautiful words. My question is related to Karma Yoga. Bhagavan Shri Krishna advises us to do our worldly duties with complete dedication to him. I have a typical corporate job with long working hours and stressful conditions. So within the day-to-day situations at work, I find it a little challenging at times to keep him in the background of my mind. So is there a way that is a change of work environment really a solution, or is there a way I can gradually resolve this and dedicate my work and keep him in my mind all times? Thank you.
Okay, Rajvi, first of all, welcome to the party, the spiritual party. Happy to have you here and glad you have been relishing this divine knowledge. Now, coming to your question, there is no doubt that work becomes like an encumbrance when we go ahead on the spiritual journey. Because the work we were passionate about, we saw it as a means for wealth, for luxuries, for enjoyment, for fame, its prestige, etc. And now when you come to the spiritual path, those things start becoming insignificant. And hence the motivation for work reduces. So the natural question arises in the minds of the sadhaks: why should I not just dump it all and engage in bhakti? Right? That is the question in Arjun's mind as well. When Sri Krishna says that, Arjun, your goal is not worldly attainments, then Arjun says, in that case, let me chuck it all. I don't want to be king. I will also go into the jungle and do this sadhana all day long. Sri Krishna says, no, Arjun, just carry on doing your work. Why? Because supposing you leave all your work and you go and live in the Himalayas, what is the guarantee that your mind will remain in God? There is no such guarantee. It's an elevated state for which you need to prepare yourself. And people who do it prematurely, unfortunately in India, such people are by the lakhs. You go to holy places, you find sadhus out there just lying around smoking charas and ganja. And you may say that they are not doing any material work, but that's what Sri Krishna says, that mentally they are. So instead of that, you first of all stay in the world and carry on doing your work, but keep taking your mind to Sri Krishna. Let that be the effort on which you focus. This is the karma yoga which Sri Krishna inspires Arjun to do. The primary instruction of the Gita, of course, in the end, he goes to karma sannyas, but throughout the 18 chapters, he's encouraging Arjun to be a karma yogi. Now, you have asked for a technique for that. That is where the spiritual tools come handy. My boss is making me upset. Okay, here is a situation. What did I learn from Swamiji? How should I implement it? I knew I tried to implement, but I failed. Why did I fail? I need to try harder, right? So the world becomes a place where you are getting the opportunity to practice the knowledge which you have received. And that is why there is no harm in staying, doing your work, and keeping on practicing the knowledge. So try and keep your mind in harmony. And when it does not, increase your wisdom, increase your practice. And for 1 hour every day, 1 hour every day, do sadhana in isolation. When you block out everything. And for this 1 hour, it is just God, Guru, divine knowledge, and myself. That is your daily sadhana. If you want to know more about daily sadhana, we do have one portal. I'm sure our volunteers will let you know, where you can log in every day and do your daily sadhana from there. So Swapna,
Yes,
how many questions do we have left? I'm just evaluating different possibilities.
we have 5 more, Swamiji. 5.
Should we do one thing? It's about 10:15. We can have another session, and we can again send out an invitation to people. I'm sure the Gita is such a subject that interests everyone more than anything else. So we can dedicate another session to this Q&A. Okay, so definitely. You can again invite people for questions, and the ones that we could not take this time, my humble apologies. We will definitely address them next time.
Thank you, Swamiji, for yet another bonus session on Bhagavad Gita. I'm sure everyone will be super excited for that. So as Swamiji said, the ones that we could not get to today, you will get the first priority in next session. And then we will send out the form for more questions as well. So thank you so much, Swamiji, for your time. And, you spent close to 15 minutes extra as well, clarifying, and for the bonus session. Thanks to everyone for joining. And advance happy Gopi Prem Divas and happy Valentine's Day to everyone, and seeking your blessings as always, Swamiji.
Okay, well, very nice discussing the philosophy of the Bhagavad Gita. It was my pleasure. Thank you all for the insightful and curious questions. The Gita is such that the more we churn it, the more nectar emerges from it. So looking forward to the next session, and best wishes to all of you. Swapna is referred to Gopi Prem Divas. Well, actually tomorrow being Valentine's Day, Kripaluji Maharaj had given it the name, let's connect it with something divine. So he said that he had christened it as Gopi Prem Divas. Radhe Radhe, and best wishes to all of you.
Thank you, Swamiji. Radhe Radhe.
Welcome to all the wonderful divine souls in this very first session of our spiritual and divine community. Communities have existed ever since humankind has existed. They are a means of receiving support and guidance in times of difficulties. Communities are a basis of strength. In times of challenges and dejection, they provide hope, enthusiasm, and encouragement.
थैंक यू बोलने के लिए, आप मुझसे बात करना चाहती थी सारी ब्लेसिंग्स के लिए।
अब बहुत कोमल हो हमारे सबके साथ।
I am very, very delighted. I can tell you, Swamiji, actually, you have changed my life.
Thank you for giving this opportunity of joining your exclusive club, Swamiji.
Recently, I am experiencing the change in my mindset also. So, thanks for that.
आपसे जुड़ के भी मुझे बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है और फ्यूचर में भी मतलब कामना है कि कभी डिस्कनेक्ट ना हो आपसे।
Thank you very much. I am so blessed to talk to you, and I really am very much grateful for all of the gems of wisdom and knowledge that you share.
There is no shortage of Swamiji's videos and discourses on the internet today. These sessions have been really special, and they have been a real blessing during the pandemic. It feels like almost I have exclusive access to Swamiji at times. I have joined many of these sessions, and the way Swamiji patiently answers all the devotees' questions and guides them on their spiritual journeys is just absolutely phenomenal.